State, are you ready to call your next witness?
Yes.
Please do so.
State calls Chloe Wright.
Ma'am, if you could just remain standing and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear that the testimony you give in this matter will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
If you can please be seated, state and spell your name for the record.
Chloe Wright. CHLOEWRIGHT.
Ms. Wright, you can actually pull that microphone towards you instead of leaning into it. Thank you. How old are you?
I'm 24.
Do you know somebody named Maxwell Anderson?
I do.
Do you see him in the courtroom?
I do.
Can you describe where he's sitting and what he's wearing?
He is at that left side table to me in a blue button-down.
I'd ask the record to reflect the identification of the defendant.
Any objection?
No.
The record will so reflect.
How do you know the defendant?
We dated previously.
When did you initially meet?
May of 2021.
Is it fair to say that you met through work?
Yes.
How long were you in a relationship with the defendant?
We started dating the end of 2021, so I'd say December, and then ended things, I'd say March of 2023.
Were you familiar with where he lived?
Yes.
Do you know the address?
3161 South 39th Street.
Had you been to that residence
Yes.
frequently?
Yes.
Can you describe some of the things that you and the defendant would do while you were dating, just in general?
We would hang out at his house a lot, and then we'd go to different restaurants or bars.
Was there any particular place that the defendant shared with you that was unique or special?
He wanted to show me this like secret beach that he described it as, just being like a really private area to hang out.
Was that his word, a secret beach?
Yes.
And do you remember when he first took you there?
I want to say that first spring that we were dating, so that would have been spring of 2022.
How many times do you think he took you there?
I'd say between 5 and 10 times.
And can you describe, do you know where it was?
I know like how to get there.
Okay. Do you know if it had a name?
I do now of Warnemount Park, but at the time I did not.
Okay, at the time that you were dating him and he would take you to this beach.
Correct.
Why didn't you know the name of it at the time?
He would always just call it like the beach, and he had mentioned he didn't want me to know the name of it in case we broke up. He didn't want me taking other people there.
Did he describe this place to you before he took you there?
Just briefly about it being like really private. Not a lot of people go there. It's just a little like private beach.
I'd like to get into some more details about the beach a little bit later, but just in general, what did you do when you were there with him?
At the beach, we would generally, he'd bring his dogs, and then we would just hang out, build a fire. Sometimes we brought snacks, sometimes I brought a book.
Going to show you Exhibit 295 and ask you if you recognize what I'm showing you.
Yes, this is the beach that we would go to, and then his 2 dogs.
That's a photograph, correct?
Correct.
This is not a photograph that you took.
No.
I'd move in 295 and ask permission to publish.
Any objection?
Yes, she didn't take the photo.
She's identified it. The photo is of what it purports to be. The authentication's in place. I am going to receive it. You may publish.
Are those the defendant's dogs?
Correct.
And that looks like where he took you?
Yes.
At some point, you contacted the Milwaukee County Sheriff's Department, correct?
Correct.
Do you remember when?
I want to say it was April of 2024.
Okay, after you were aware of Sade Robinson's disappearance?
Correct.
And was this after the disappearance?
Yes.
And why did you contact the Sheriff's Department?
Well, I contacted them after the disappearance and after the news was released that he was in custody under suspicion of this. And I contacted them just because I knew he was a pretty secretive person with like his house. So he would buy like shelves with false backs or have these like hidden compartments. Like there was one in the bathroom, like under the sink, that he would place a piece of marble in and it would blend so you couldn't really tell that there was a compartment under there.
So that was something that you're describing in his bathroom at 3161 South 39th Street?
Yes.
Is that something that you saw?
Yes.
Where was it?
In the bathroom underneath the sink.
Okay, underneath the sink, did the sink have like a vanity?
Correct. So the vanity was this marble color, and then there was the sink with the cabinets, and then there was like a spot underneath the cabinets, probably 3 or 4 inches tall, and he would just stick a piece of marble that matched the vanity there so that it looked like it was one piece.
Going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 496.
Thank you.
Do you recognize what this is?
Yes, that is his bathroom.
It's a photograph, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Can you, I'd ask that 496 be received.
Any objection?
No.
It's received.
Can you draw on there where the secret compartment is?
Is it showing up or do you need a Sharpie?
It's okay.
Okay.
Just that.
Thank you. Permission to publish?
Go ahead.
Okay, so this is the vanity, correct?
Correct.
And what you drew in this kind of blue rectangle in pen is what?
It is the piece of marble that he would be able to slide in and out of underneath the vanity. So it does match like the top of it, so it would look as one piece.
And that's something he showed you?
Yes.
Was there anything else similar to this inside that residence that you were aware of?
He did have a closet in the living room area that he would cover with an entertainment center, so you weren't aware that there was a closet behind there.
And you felt that at least some of this information was important to tell law enforcement, correct?
Yeah, I mean, I knew they were searching the house. I just have no idea how extensive these searches are, so.
Did you also share with law enforcement the information about the secret beach?
Yes.
Did there come a time a few months later where law enforcement was back in contact with you about that location?
Yes.
And what happened when they were back in contact with you?
Well, the first time I had mentioned it, I had just said that we had been to a beach, looked very similar. I wasn't sure of if it was the same one, and then they had reached out again several months later, and they were like, do you know if it's
Objection hearsay.
It does call for hearsay. I'll sustain that.
Did you ultimately meet with law enforcement?
I did.
And did the particular detective or officer that was with you actually go with you to the location?
Yes, I directed them.
Okay. Do you remember where you started out?
Yes, I remember that we would take Layton pretty much all the way down. So I had them get me to Layton, and then I was able to direct.
And when you say we would take Layton, who are you referring to?
Maxwell and I.
Would you say that you have a good knowledge of the city of Milwaukee in terms of directions and different roads?
No.
Was there a particular landmark that you identified that you were able to direct law enforcement to get you to this location?
Yes, so I know we would take Layton all the way down, and then on the way there, there was a Mexican restaurant, El Beso, on Layton. So that was on the right-hand side. We would stop there sometimes before going to the beach. And then I knew that the airport was, you'd have to pass the airport, so I could tell that I was going in the right direction through those landmarks.
And you did this same route with the sheriff's department?
Correct.
Going to show you exhibits 265 through 277, and just to yourself, look through those and let me know if you recognize what they are.
Individually or just?
Individually, yes.
Okay. Yes, this first one I do recognize. It looks like where we would park to walk to get there.
But do you recognize, sorry if I was confusing.
No, that's okay.
Do you recognize all of those
Correct.
exhibits? That
This is
okay.
the beach that we would go to.
Okay. I'd ask for exhibits 265 through 277 to be received and published.
Any objection?
No.
They're received, you may publish.
Showing you exhibit 265. What is this?
That is where we would park our car, and then that fence there is where we would enter to get to the beach.
Okay, so would you park your car down here or in this,
In that dead end spot.
down where the car is?
Correct.
Exhibit 266, do you recognize this?
That is the fence that would need to be gone through to get to the beach.
Was that-
However, it looks like that was a replacement. That doesn't look like the fence that we would go through.
Okay, so that looks like a different fence versus when you were there with the defendant.
Correct.
Showing you exhibit 267, what is that?
That is the fence that we would go through. There was that gap in between the two connecting fences, and we would squeeze through there to get to the beach.
What is 268?
After we went through the fence, there was like a really long paved hill that we would have to go down. So that looks like that.
Once you went down the hill, which direction did you go?
Left.
And what was down at the bottom of the hill?
Down at the bottom to your right is this building. I'm not sure what the building is. And then to the left, it was pretty rocky. And then once you got past the rocks, you would get to sandy area, which was where we would hang out.
Did you ever go to the right with him?
No.
Showing you exhibit 269, what is that?
Just an extension of the hill. It was pretty long, so then if you just continued down to the left, there would be the beach.
Is this the building that you talked about?
Correct.
And you would go this way?
Yes.
Exhibit 270? What is that?
Same thing, that's just a different angle of the building.
Describe, when you go to the left, how you get to the beach.
So we would either go, it was pretty rocky, so we would either climb kind of through the rocks, or there was, if you, like a little bit longer of a way, there was like a back trail that you kind of had to go up and around, and it would get you past the rocks.
Which did you prefer to navigate?
Usually the trail, because I would be wearing sandals, so didn't want to cut my feet on the rocks.
What about the defendant?
He'd usually take the rocks, depending if we had the dogs or whatnot.
Exhibit 271, what is that?
Those are the rocks that would need to be climbed over.
272, what is that?
Just another angle of the rocks. Further past those trees would be kind of where that trail that I would take is.
What about 273?
So there's a better view of the trail.
Can you stand up and point to where the trail is?
If you're going to talk, there's a microphone right next to you that you can turn on if you need to talk.
Okay, so the pavement kind of goes down this way. You would enter through, it had all these fallen down trees, so either route was dangerous, I suppose, but the trail kind of curves through this way.
Once you got down to the beach, how far down would you walk?
From when you get there and you can visually see, because it kind of goes around a bend, so from what you can visually see, we would go about halfway down. There would be a fallen down tree over there, so there was like lots of bark and stuff, so we'd usually park our blanket by the fallen down tree, because then we would use that fallen bark to build our fires.
Showing you exhibit 275, what is that?
That is just an extension of the beach. I believe that we would usually put our blanket right about here.
Exhibit 276, what is that?
So when we were at the beach, behind us, this is what it would look like. It wasn't just like a big open plain, it was just that little strip of beach, and then this wall behind us.
And exhibit 277, what's that?
Just a view from the beach from the opposite angle, so going towards the pavement.
When you met with the sheriff's department, did you provide them any photographs that you had of either you and the defendant, or photos of this secret beach?
I did.
I'm going to show you exhibit 278 and 279 and ask you if you know what they are, and I can take this from you.
This is a photo that I took when we were at the beach.
Okay, and you're referring to 278.
Yes, and then 279, since it was taken on Snapchat, I had to press and hold it to where it would show you the location and the date and time.
So those are screenshots from your phone?
Correct.
And 279 is kind of an extension of 278?
Correct.
Okay, I'll take those. I would ask for 278 and 279 to be received and permission to publish.
Any objection?
No.
Received, and go ahead.
Okay, we're looking at 278. What is that?
So you can see my beach blanket. I'd keep that in my car for when we would go. And then that was just a fire that we had built.
And does 279 tell you what date that photograph was taken on, or what date you posted that on Snapchat?
It does. That is the day it was taken, May 12th, 2022, 6:10 p.m.
Does it give a location stamp too?
Yes, Cudahy, Wisconsin.
I don't have anything further.
Cross?
Good morning.
Morning.
So as I understand it, you and Max dated for about 2021 to 2023, give or take about 2 years, you'd say?
Correct.
Not through work, obviously, right?
Correct.
And you would hang out at his house, did I hear that correctly?
Yes.
So you knew you even knew his address, obviously, you just said it, right?
Yes.
And that was a place where he would take you and you would watch TV or spend time together there, right?
Correct.
And you've talked a little bit about this hidden compartment was it in the bathroom area?
Yes.
And actually, the reason why that's important is because when after you heard, I mean, obviously you heard the news about Max being arrested and suspected and all this, right?
Yes.
That's sort of what prompted you reaching out to law enforcement.
Correct.
So it wasn't until you had seen things in the news that you actually initiated contact with the police, right?
Correct.
And the first thing about that secret spot in the bathroom, you wanted to make them aware of that because you knew law enforcement was going to go search the house, obviously.
I didn't know if it had been done or not at that point, but I just wanted to make them aware.
You suspected maybe they would search a house in a situation like this, right?
I suppose.
Right, and you wanted to make them aware of, hey, there's this secret spot here. If you do search the house, this is where it is, right?
Yes.
And that secret spot was something he had shown to you, right?
Correct.
Because you guys trusted each other, or at least he trusted you.
Correct.
And that secret spot was for purpose of hiding basically money or weed, right?
Yes.
Okay. And this beach, you guys have gone there a handful of times together, right?
Yes.
Do you have any idea, so you didn't know the name Warnemont Park back in 2021, 22, or 23, right?
That's correct.
You know it now because you've heard the articles, right?
Yes.
Have you've read a little bit about the situation or the case?
Yes.
I mean, it's of particular interest to you, obviously, because this is an ex-boyfriend of yours, right?
Correct.
And you broke up before he was ever charged in this case. You broke up in March of 2023.
That's correct.
So a year before anything had allegedly happened, you guys were already broken up, ex-boyfriend, ex-girlfriend.
Yes.
Not one of these situations where people are still sort of keeping in touch with each other and maybe dating other people, broken up, right?
Correct.
And you hadn't even seen Max for over a year since you broke up, right?
That's correct.
In fact, you never saw him from the breakup until he was arrested. Right?
I believe I had ran into him at a concert that summer, but we didn't hang out at the concert or anything. It was more like a, hey, how are you? Move on.
The dates that you went on, I don't need to go into all the details, obviously, but things like going out to dinner or going to the movies or going to a beach, is it things like that?
Correct?
And he was never physically abusive, was he?
No.
And you were aware that at his house, he even had someone living below at his house, right?
Correct.
You were familiar with the layout of the house. He even told you about the spot in the living room where the desk was there and there was the closet, right?
Correct.
And just going back to this beach, obviously you didn't know the name back then, you said. Didn't know that it was called Warnemont Park, right?
Correct.
So in terms of hanging out there, did you ever hang out there with other people or just that's the spot you and Max had gone?
It was just Max and I.
So in terms of the number of, and how many times did you estimate you went there with him?
I said between 5 and 10.
So just a range, right?
Correct.
And the pictures you've shown are the only ones that you had taken there, the picture of the fire and the dogs on?
Yes.
The ones of the dogs on the beach, you didn't take that, right?
No, I did not.
You recognize those dogs as being Max's dogs, right?
Yes.
So when you would go there, you would take, you said Layton Avenue past the airport, right?
Correct.
Right into the beach.
Yes.
And not College, right?
No.
And there's a Mexican restaurant, El Beso. The two of you would stop there periodically as well, right?
Yes.
And what you would do at the beach is just hang out there and spend time together like any other couple might do, right?
Yes.
He never told you, don't tell anybody about the beach. He just didn't tell you the name.
Correct.
And to get down there, there's a path around the side of the fence. So I think you said the route that you would go would be to walk around the fence and then walk down, right?
Yes.
Never drove a car down in that area, right?
No.
And the beach is, the path down to the beach, there's sort of a walking trail that you would take sometimes, right? Is that what I heard you say before?
Yes.
What is the terrain of the walking trail? Is it paved or is it just, would it be described as a muddy trail that goes down?
It's muddy. It's pretty worn out too, so it's not really like actually muddy, but it is dirt.
It's dirt, right?
Yes.
Had you ever gone there with Max when it was raining and muddy?
There were times where we had been there and it had started to rain and we would just leave right away.
Not any time where it had been pouring and pouring like that, right?
No.
So in terms of the dirt path, and the dirt path is the one you would take. There's also some other ways through the woods you can walk down there? Or no?
I'm not aware of any other way through the woods.
Just the dirt path.
Correct.
And then there's sandy beach, right? You said there's a rocky part of the beach and a sandy part of the beach?
Yes.
Max never told you get rid of any photos or anything like that, right?
No.
And in fact, after Max had been, in early April, let's say, April 1st, April 2nd, April 3rd, did Max ever reach out to you?
Not in April.
Okay. In April, he never contacted you and said, get rid of some photos of the beach or anything like that, did he?
He did not.
Or tell you to, or even try to make contact with you at all, right?
Not in April.
Right. That's all. Thank you.
State, do you have a brief sidebar before redirect? Sure.
Okay, State had just requested a sidebar. I thought it was easier just to handle this on the record. State, why don't you restate where we were at?
Attorney Cotton asked a question as it relates to whether or not the defendant was ever physically abusive with Ms. Wright. Her answer was no. So while I expect Attorney Cotton to argue that that was a narrowly tailored question, I think the broader inference is that he was eliciting that Mr. Anderson is not physically violent. That information about never being physically abusive is in the report, followed by information about how Ms. Wright reported that he was emotionally abusive towards her, that he would make fun of her and call her names. And then there was also an incident with one of Ms. Wright's ex-boyfriends, who she names, and that he would constantly get angry. Mr. Anderson would get angry with her over this individual, and that at one point they got into a physical fight, this being the ex-boyfriend and Mr. Anderson at a specific bar with an address given on a specific date, that the police were never involved, but Anderson and this ex-boyfriend were removed from the bar. She also reported that at one point, the defendant told her to invite the ex-boyfriend over to her residence and asked her to beat herself up in the bathroom and to call the police to get this individual arrested. So, I mean, I've got concerns that the defense question, the underlying inference is for the jury to draw a conclusion that he's not a physically violent person. And I think that opens the door to this other information.
Defense.
Thank you, Judge. I knew exactly what I was doing when I asked that question, and that question was narrowly designed and narrowly tailored to elicit one response, one answer, about whether Mr. Anderson has ever been physically abusive with Ms. Wright. Ms. Wright, when she was interviewed by law enforcement on April 11th, by law enforcement, they had asked her questions about Max's emotional abuse. And she did indicate that he had been emotionally abusive, that he had said things I won't say here, but they're not good emotional statements, basically, that she had was sexually promiscuous and things like that. I didn't think any of that ought to be explored, nor did the state. So I didn't ask about emotional abuse. Emotional abuse is different than physical abuse, for sure. So I didn't ask that. I asked about whether he had been physically abusive. Ms. Wright, in her interview with law enforcement, Your Honor, was clear to the police that he was never physically abusive with her. I stopped with that question and explored nothing further. The reason I explored nothing further, Judge, is because I understand that if I start drawing broader inferences, of course, if I start speaking more broadly about, well, therefore he has a character trait of peacefulness, he was never abusive with anybody, he never, then I'm going way beyond the question. I get that. So I tailored it to ask only what she had told the police, that Max was not physically abusive with her. How that opens the door to other acts evidence of his behavior on another date of telling her to beat herself up, which as I understand, she never did. And again, it was a statement that he made. I really disagree. I was precise with how I asked that question to elicit only that answer. And I asked no further questions about that topic at all, about his abuse with her.
State, what is the statute you're relying on for the path of admissibility relative to specific instances of conduct? And defense, is there a statute you're relying on as to why it is not admissible? Why it should not be
It's yes.
under 90404, are you looking at?
90404 for sure.
Is there anything else?
Yes, because primarily because it would constitute other acts evidence to get into other occasions when he told her to beat herself up or when he was emotionally abusive. And I think, with all due respect, there's a drastic difference between emotional and physical abuse, without a question.
Judge, 90405, and again, this was not something that the state intended on eliciting. In fact, we had a conversation before this witness came up where I indicated the scope of what I was going to ask her, so we wouldn't even come close to this type of information.
And that conversation was not held on the record or with the court? It was held between the parties, is that correct?
It had nothing to do about any physical anything, though, to be clear.
Then if the purpose of that question is not to elicit character information of him not being a violent person or that she would have no reason to be scared of him, what's the purpose of that question?
You can answer that.
So, yes, the purpose of the question was to make it clear that he was never physically abusive with her. It was not to suggest that he has a character trait for peacefulness or that he has a character trait for nonviolence more broadly. That's why I didn't ask her anything about broad character traits. And typically when we get into, if the state's arguing character and habit evidence, typically the way we prove that under 90405, as you know, Judge, is reputation or opinion coupled with specific instances of conduct where it's noticed up and it is disclosed if the state wishes to go into it.
Right, I don't think they were going into it. I think that they're claiming that you, by interjecting your question, went into character evidence, and now they should be permitted to go into specific instances to rebut.
I understand the argument. I never asked her, I'll rest on my arguments with all due respect. I never asked her about Mr. Anderson's character trait. Typically when we talk about character traits, we ask a witness, does this individual have a character trait for X? They say yes or no. Are you familiar with their character trait? Yes. And then, how are you familiar with it? Well, this is why, and they answer the question. If the state wants to, I certainly think if they want to ask her some rebuttal about his physical abuse to her, if there was a time when he physically abused her, that would be appropriate, but I don't think there was any physical abuse towards her. And I wasn't asking about character traits more broadly.
State to go into the emotional abuse. I think that that's at a different level than what's already been indicated here, and I think that that would create a whole separate issue. I will allow the state to go into the two specific instances of conduct to rebut the character evidence that the defense has put into play relative to her observations of a bar fight, as well as the conversation to have her beat herself up and to have the boyfriend come over and then to report it to the police. I am going to find that that is allowable pursuant to 90405 sub 2. Any questions relative to my ruling, State?
Yeah, I think Attorney Vance Krazan and I were just chatting about making sure we have a very narrow scope of the questions to be asked. So I think we're going to ask her if she had observed any specific instance where the defendant was physically violent with someone, who that person was, when that was, and where it was, and we'll let it lie there.
Okay, thank you.
Understood. Anything further to address on the record before we bring the jury back?
No, I would just ask if Ms. Wright understands the scope of what I just described.
Ms. Wright?
I do.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. State, please proceed.
Ms. Wright, on cross-examination, you were asked a question about whether the defendant had ever been physically abusive towards you, correct?
Correct.
And your answer was no.
Correct.
Do you recall telling the sheriff's department about a specific instance where you saw the defendant be physically violent with someone else?
Yes.
Who was that?
A previous ex-boyfriend before Maxwell.
And where did that occur?
That occurred at Trinity on Water.
That's a bar
Correct.
in Milwaukee?
Correct.
And what happened? Were you there?
I was there.
What did you see?
It all happened very quickly. I turn around 1 second and Maxwell and my ex-boyfriend were fighting. I don't know exactly how it was initiated. And then I just remember both of them being on the ground, and then the bouncers broke it up pretty quickly and kicked them both out.
Do you remember what day that was on?
I want to say it was St. Patty's Day of 2022.
When you talk about fighting with each other, was this a fist fight? Can you further describe?
Yes, it was a fist fight, and then it was so quickly, I think maybe like 1 or 2 punches were thrown, and then they were kind of just wrestling on the ground.
Okay, I just have one final question about the secret beach. When you would go there, were there other people around?
Not usually. I would see maybe one person walking their dog and passing by, but there weren't other people hanging out there.
Nothing further.
Cross.
Yes, thank you. So was not a situation where Max attacked you at Trinity, right?
That's correct.
And you said 2022, so that means it was when you were dating him.
That's correct.
So you and Max were dating, and then an ex-boyfriend showed up to Trinity.
That's correct.
Your ex-boyfriend.
Yes.
And actually, it was the ex-boyfriend who actually started it. Isn't that true?
I don't recall who started what.
Do you recall when you were interviewed by, well, you do know that you sat down with law enforcement and talked to them about Max, right?
Yes.
You sat down with a sheriff's deputy, right?
Yes.
And you described that there was a fight on St. Patty's Day. You remember telling them about that, right?
I do.
But you don't remember telling them that was your ex-boyfriend was Jack, right?
That's correct.
And you said, do you remember telling them Jack actually started it and then Max got him in a headlock? Do you remember saying that?
That is possible that I said that.
Well, that's what happened. The ex-boyfriend Jack started it. He showed up, you were dating Max, and Max got him in a headlock, right?
Okay.
Okay, and then security broke it up.
Correct.
Thank you. That's all.
State.
Did you just respond by saying okay because you didn't know the answer to what Attorney Cotton was telling you?
If that is what I said, then that is what I said. But at this point in time, I don't remember how the situation occurred.
I don't have anything further.
No,
Cotton.
no, Your Honor.
Thank you. You may step down.